the Pentecost administration and the secret administration. What's the key difference? The key difference is there's a wall here that God put up. God put up a wall. The Concordant version calls it the wall, the barrier. I like to call it's the barrier wall between humanity. All humanity has a divinely built wall that separates them. King James says the middle wall of partition. And that middle wall was the seed of Abraham. On one side you have the seed of Abraham, on the other side you have the Gentiles. On one side you got the circumcision, on the other side you got the uncircumcision. On one side you got all the promises made unto the fathers. And on the other side you got those without promise, without hope, without God in the world. God, way back in the book of Genesis, built a wall between humanity. The Jews are on one side, the Gentiles on the other. There's a lot of verses in Scripture that people just gloss over and ignore. They don't want to think about. They don't want to think that Jesus Christ said in the book of Matthew when He sent His disciples out, He sent them out to preach the gospel of the kingdom and said, enter not into the way of the Gentiles. Don't go to don't tell any Gentiles about this. The Gentile Syrophoenician woman came to Christ to be healed. He said to her, why will I give Israel's bread and cast it to the dogs? Jesus Christ would tell people. By the way, I'm just going to make a wild assumption that most of us in this room are not genetically connected to Abraham by the flesh. And even if you are, it doesn't mean anything. Because the Jews are no longer God's people at this present time. And so you realize Jesus Christ said, they can't have my message. And when they came for blessing, now it's funny because the Syrophoenician woman, she did get what she wanted from Jesus, didn't she? And you know why she did? She took her rightful place. She says, yeah, I know I shouldn't get this blessing. But at least dogs get the crumbs that fall from the master's table. And Jesus said, I have not seen so much faith in all of Israel. And He granted her because she took her place. She was the dog of the house. And she can eat the scraps that fall off Israel's table. Wow! You see, this is very, very important. Jesus Christ was Israel's Messiah, not ours. That's what Paul said, without Christ and without God in the world. So there's a barrier wall up. So here's what we have to ask ourselves. By the way, in the end of the book of Acts, which I've already told you, we're going to try to wrap this up really quick and take our little break. So we have to ask ourselves, when you get to the end of the book of Acts, Israel's declared not to be my people. So this wall gets broken down. And now it doesn't matter anymore. Has nothing to do with Abraham. Has nothing to do with Jerusalem. Has nothing to do with Israel. Has nothing to do with these things. But some secret purpose God had that actually predated Abraham. Actually predated Adam. Before the destruction of the world, He had this great plan. So the question we ask ourselves when we're studying the Scriptures, you can start in Genesis and you can read all the way to the book of Revelation, and you keep asking yourself this one question, and Paul says that we are to rightly divide the word of truth. I love the Concordant 1930 edition. It says that you are to correctly partition the word of truth. Put it in compartments. Partition it off. Partition it. Put that middle wall up. And see where you fit. Here's the greatest rightly dividing question you can ask when you're reading the Scriptures. Is the middle wall up or down? So all you got to ask. Is the middle wall up or down? And if it's up, you know which you're on. You're on the wrong side. of the middle wall partition.